How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing: always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid. It ended up having a pullback on the day. No surprises, we had a pullback in the overall markets. But I know many of you want to know, what does this stock look like going into Monday? What is the pattern looking like when we take a look at the charts? Well, you know what? We're about to cover that, but I just want to remind you, if you're new to this channel, we do have timestamps down below inside the description, because of course I value your time. So what we're going to take a look at, we're going to take a look at the charts, we're going to take a look at the short interest, and then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts. So let's get into those videos right now. So we're going to take a look at the chart for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $16.18, being down 1.88%. On the low, it tested $16.08, and then on the high, testing $17.69. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 50.197 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 19.837 million shares. So we had above average volume on the day, and we had a pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, the first thing that we want to take notice of, Lucid is still continuing to trade above the 9 EMA, which is really good. But we also have to notice that we did finally break through our higher low pattern. So we ended up making a lower low on the day than the previous day. So we tested right at $16.08, and you know what? This is necessarily not too bad, because we are still above the 9 EMA, which is at $16.02. As far as for our higher high pattern, we do have a continuation. So we saw the high at $17.69 because we finally broke through that $17.30 range, which I've talked about before already. So going into Monday, what I'd want to see from Lucid, I'd want to see a move going to at least $16.86. It closed at $16.18, so getting to this level, that's where we can really say, well, you know what, Lucid can go back to $17. If it decides to be bearish and we end up making another lower low, then I'd want to see some strength at least around $15.80. Again, this is predicated on the fact that we don't break through this 9 EMA, because if we hold this 9 EMA, the chart still continues to look bullish. So overall, let's see what Lucid does going into next week, but as far as the momentum is concerned, we have not lost it as of yet. Now let's take a look at the short interest. So we're going to take a look at the recent short interest information for Lucid. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 55.49%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 3.33 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 1.3 million, updated 11 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 7.74%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 14th, it was at 59.85, and then for the close of the 15th, being at 55.49. So you could see that we had a decrease right there, and then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 20.22%, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. So for my final thoughts for Lucid when it comes to the price action, so going into Monday, I want to make sure you guys add this to your notes, what I'm about to tell you. We want Lucid to hold $16. If it doesn't hold $16, that's where we could start trading in the mid $15 range. So I want to make sure that you are fully aware of that. I know many traders could take advantage of opportunities when it comes to puts. Now, as far as for the upside is concerned, we want to see Lucid going back to the $17 range. I know the bulls out there can agree with me. If it can get back to $17, then we can go back to actually continuing this strong uptrend. But we also have to realize, even though we did end up breaking our higher low pattern, we were able to pull off higher highs. So we're seeing a continuation of that, and that's part of the reasons why this stock still has some strength despite the fact it did witness a pullback. We saw a weakness in the overall markets, and considering how it was, I think Lucid performed fairly well. Another thing to take into consideration, when we went on Fintel taking a look at the short interest information, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. So all this play needs is above average volume and a lot lot of buying pressure. So keeping that in mind and knowing that we do have a Fed meeting for next week, if we see the markets wanting to trend up, then of course Lucid is going to follow along with it. And taking a look at the chart, I'm expecting an even bigger move. Maybe a move going to $18 if we see a lot of strength. If we end up seeing some weakness, then of course Lucid will pull back and will come down to those levels that I talked about when we were taking a look at the charts. So this is why you want to make sure that you're doing your homework. You want to be ahead of the pack, so you know if you're going to be trading off of certain levels, where you need to enter and is where you need to exit. And for my long-term investors out there, when it comes to adding to your position, I would be using a dollar cost averaging approach and only be adding on dips. I would not be adding on run-ups. But you want to make sure when it does dip that you're confident enough to add to your position. If you're not confident enough to do that, that means you didn't do enough research and you don't have high conviction. So in that case, you might want to think about what you want to do with your investment, because I want to make sure I'm being very clear about that. If you're getting into this play knowing that, you know what, you want to get rid of this stock, whether in weeks or in months, that you are a trader. If you're planning to hold this play for years on end, then you are an investor. Again, I'm just emphasizing this so you guys have a clear idea of what you want to do if you're going to be putting money into this play. I think a lot of times people FOMO into certain plays and they really don't know what their intentions are when they get into it. The only thing that they're talking about is how much money they can make. They're not thinking about how much money they can lose, and they're also not thinking about, if this stock decides to dip, am I going to add? Again, I want to make sure before you guys buy into anything, you answer all of these questions. It's very important, and I'm going to keep on emphasizing it. So let's see how Lucid performs going into Monday. I will continue to keep you guys inside of the loop, and I hope you enjoy your weekend as well. We'll talk soon.